Hi guys, Lindsay here with Storybook Family Farm. So I kind of need to level with you guys and kind of bring something to light that I feel almost as if I'm being deceptive by not telling you guys, because this has been something that's been going on with us for, well, since about like August or September. So yeah, I think it's about time that I finally come clean on all of this. So here it is. Tracy and I are not happy with where we live. So that might shock a lot of you. For some of you, it might not, because I have sort of hinted at it in some videos about, it'd be better if we had more land, if this was different. I would change this, I would change that and stuff, but I haven't really felt the need to sort of like bring it forth and, discuss it with you guys, because, even though I do try to be very authentic and real and honest with you guys, there are still some aspects of my life that I do feel that I need to wait and keep private for a little while until I am like 100% dead certain on something and stuff. Like I usually just sort of shut down, tune everything out, don't ask anybody, don't involve anybody until I've, thought every option through, thought every single piece of the puzzle through. And I think that I've done that for long enough. And, today I'm planning on planting a whole bunch of trees, and the further along that we get with, creating a homestead here, the more difficult it becomes to film about it and discuss things as to why we're doing things in a very specific way. Because there's a lot of things that change when you realize that you don't want to live at a place forever, when you realize that you're no longer just designing a home or a homestead for yourself and your own functions, but that you're also designing it so then that way it'll appeal to a potential buyer. Because for me, honestly, like I would plant trees all willy-nilly everywhere and basically turn the entire property into a forested area that has little pockets where you can have, small gardens scattered throughout the entire property that, are where there's a big hole in the shade. That's my idea of, paradise, basically. It's just tons and tons of woods and trees and, dappled shade everywhere and really playing with the light and the dark and stuff. That's what we did a lot when we lived in town, because our backyard was almost completely shady and we still figured out a space to grow a nice sized garden to provide most of our vegetables for the whole entire year. So I'm no stranger to playing in wooded areas to grow food. That's definitely my preferred zone, because I don't do well being in the sunlight. Like right now, I mean, I have sunscreen on and I'm still like kind of getting a little toasty here. But so it has been very hard for me to try to do videos outside and even do renovation videos, because of the fact that like a lot of my enthusiasm for what I'm doing is gone and stuff, simply because it's like I'm not enjoying the process anymore, because I know that I'm doing all of this work specifically for someone else, and it's hard for me to just smile through it and pretend and act as though that things are great, things are grand and wonderful, and that we're gonna make so many memories on this homestead and we're gonna grow old here, because the reality of it is we are not. Neither of us are interested in that. We both are interested in finding a place with more land, but kind of a plot twist of a place. Like, we've lived in a bunch of different types of housing before. Okay, so when we first got married, my parents let us put a brand new single wide on their land and stuff. So we've somewhat done the whole raw land type thing. There was already a well there, but the whole kit and caboodle of septic, electrical, driveway, all these things, which my parents, they did end up helping with a big part of that and stuff, with the planning and the calls and the figuring things out, the logistics of it all. So we lived in a brand new home for, I think it was 4 years that we lived there, and then Tracy's job shut down and we had to move, we had to relocate, because otherwise she would have been driving over an hour each way to work, and that's not doable. I think it was actually like an hour and 15 or hour and 20 minutes that she would have been driving each way to work, and that's not sustainable. That's not a good situation. So we ended up moving closer to our job, and we ended up buying a really, really, really old house in town that had a 1/4 of an acre of land. So while we were there, we desperately wished we were back in the country. And for years we looked, and then eventually we got up the courage to sell our house, buy a camper, and put it on Tracy's parents' land while we looked for something. We lived in that for almost a year, and then we finally got to here. This house is an old house. It's a 2-story house, and it needs pretty much everything done, which we've got, I would say, at least 50% of it done, maybe more like 75. But it only has 2 acres. That was the absolute bare minimum amount of space that we were, content with, that we were contending with and stuff, because we knew that ultimately we want to be able to have a good sized pasture for the goats. So then that way they have more space, because the more space that your animals have, the less hay you have to buy, the less feed you have to buy, the less work that's involved on you, because then they can do normal animal things of just finding their own food, foraging for their own food, and just feeding themselves. It's the way that it ought to be and stuff. But so this was actually the bare minimum amount that we were, willing to really deal with. And we did look at some places that had 1.5 acres, and we were like, that's kind of tight. And even after we looked at this place, we were like, this might not be enough land for us long term. And we've come to the point that we're like, this isn't enough for us. For us to have the wild spaces that we long for us to have the separation from neighbors, the separation from the road, and all this stuff. But ultimately, with evaluating all of the different places that we've lived at and stuff, so we went from single-story house to 2-story house to single-story living to 2-story living and stuff. And we basically have realized that we really want to have single-floor living, because of the fact that, I have joint problems. Tracy's older than me. She also has issues too. And it's really kind of cumbersome to have to do 14 steep farmhouse steps to go to bed or to get up in the middle of the night to go pee. It sucks. But that's not the whole basis for us trying to leave. But it's very frustrating for us. It's very hard for us. And it just, to be quite honest, the energy it doesn't flow here. I don't know how else to describe it besides it doesn't sit right. It doesn't flow. It's like everything that we're doing is swimming upstream. It's going against the grain. There's no wind behind our sails pushing us forward. It feels like every step of the way there is nothing but tremendous amounts of resistance, tremendous amounts of struggle, and just constantly being pulled back. And it is very difficult. It's like walking through the mud every day that we're doing now to get back and forth to the barn. It's not easy. It's doable. It's possible, but it is not easy. It is not enjoyable. It is not very good for us. And with that being said, it has been a bit of a struggle to try to on camera show you guys what we're doing, with the renovations and with the upgrades and all this stuff. And people are wondering why am I pushing my body so hard? Why am I moving so fast? And to be quite honest, it's because of the fact that I know that I don't want to stay here. I don't want to keep putting all my energy and my effort and my will and my strength into fixing up a place that we don't want to live. I just want to get it done and over with, so then I can move on to the next thing. I can move on to where I'm going to be happier, to where we're going to have more room, to where we're not feeling like we're, being constricted when we're outside, because, you can see all the property lines right from the back deck, and you're like, oh man, I'm running out of space. I can't do this. I'm just, suffocating. And that's kind of how it feels, even though we have pretty much everything that we need, and we're able to grow enough food for us to sustain us and everything. And it's not that we, for the aspect of homesteading, 2 acres is a fantastic amount of land. You can have a good sized wild space. You can have a little bit of area for hunting. You can, have goats for dairy. You can have all the eggs you ever desired. You could raise meat rabbits. You can raise meat chickens. You could do all the things. You could make it so the homestead works. But it's about so much more than that for us. We can raise all of the animals that our hearts desire here. We already are, pretty much. There's only so much goat milk you need in your life, which, I'm deficient right now because we dried her out. But very sad point. But anyways, there's only so much stuff that you need to produce for yourself. The thing is what we want a significant amount more space for is for our own peace, for our own relaxation, for the ability to just sprawl out, for the ability to give the animals all more space. Like the chickens and the turkeys, they free range, they go everywhere. They have the whole 2 acres and stuff. And sometimes even still, the turkeys, it's not enough for them. But we want to be able to have a significant amount more space for the goats. We want to be able to have a big, huge area for the ducks and the geese, because they are a very big part of our homestead, like meat plan and stuff, is to raise them for meat. And to do that, you need more space. Ducks and geese eat a lot of grass. If they don't have enough space, they just make mud everywhere, and it stinks, and it's gross, and it's not regenerative, it's not holistic, it's not pretty, it's not nice, it's just icky and stuff. Like, we want it to be an enjoyable process for everybody involved, including the animals that will ultimately be our dinner and stuff. And it's been hard sort of keeping that from you guys, that there's this big significant level of discontent, because I have to pretty much guard everything that I'm saying to not let the cat out of the bag. And I'm really tired of not being able to be real with you guys about some of the difficulties that we've been having, some of the frustrations that we've been having, because it's like everything with this property, it's like walking up the hill in the woods here that's, this freaking steep. It's just, there's a bird in the bush behind me. I was like, what is walking behind me? Sometimes when Lucky, our goat, sees me outside, he'll hop the fence just to come see me. So I was trying to make sure it wasn't him coming through. And now I'm about to the point where I'm probably going to get super distracted because I hear something behind me. But it's been a really big doozy, trying to keep a smile on my face, trying to keep happy, trying to be like, yeah, everything's great with this renovation. Yep. It's going to be so nice when we're done. Because in the back of my mind, I'm going, yes, that way we can sell this freaking place, so we can move away, so we can have our peace, so we can, have more space to where we're not so scrunched together and stuff. It's a lot for me to unpack. And, even with speaking with packing, if you guys have wondered why everything's still in boxes, it's because around the time that we started unpacking stuff, we realized that we didn't want to live here anymore. So we're not going to unpack everything, because ultimately we're going to have to pack it up again. Tracy doesn't work in a factory anymore, so she doesn't get boxes for free. Plus it's just boxes of books. We don't have a place to put them and stuff. I would have to build a bookshelf to then unpack the boxes of books, so then that way, in however much time, we then can repack the boxes and then move them again. And it's very frustrating, because like when we lived in town, I kept planting stuff and hoping that we would get our opportunity to go and stuff at any time. But I didn't realize while I was doing all this that it would be a crazy opportunity that we had to make ourselves and stuff. But it becomes very difficult when you know that where you're living at is a temporary situation, but you're doing permanent type of things, like planting trees, planting an orchard, planting berries, doing all these things that somebody else may or may not enjoy. When we sold our house in town, the people there, they wanted to have the garden fences left. They wanted to, do a similar thing in town that we were doing. A year later, they had ripped all the fencing out, all the T-posts out that they, put in the contract that they wanted and stuff, and they planted grass seed over top of the entire garden that I had spent a whole bunch of time with. So it's kind of one of those weird things of, like, what I'm doing now, is somebody even going to enjoy it, or am I wasting my own time? It's just, I don't know. I guess it's one of those time will tell sort of situations, but I'm going to leave that here because, well, it was a lot for me to unpack, and I assume that for some of you it's going to be kind of a bit of a shock, because, several people, when we've told them our thoughts and our plans and our feelings, they've been pretty much flabbergasted as to why we would ever want to leave. And it's hard to explain an emotion, it's hard to explain an energy, it's hard to explain a feeling, and it's really hard to explain an inner knowing when most people can't even listen to their own, can't hear it. I don't know. It's been a journey. So, all right. If you guys are enjoying our content, please give this video a thumbs up. Share it with your friends on social media, and if you haven't already, please subscribe to help us grow. And also, leave something in the comments so that way I can, have somebody to banter back and forth with about this, because I feel almost like maybe I shouldn't have told anybody. Like, it's kind of a weird feeling, but yeah. So Thanks for watching. Have a good one, guys.